Okay. Before I say anything, I'd rather show you guys a clip so you guys get an idea of what I'm going to cover within my speech.
This is what most people think of when they think of women in porn. But these days, women aren't just in front of the camera. They're behind the scenes at all levels, running studios, directing films, and starting the next generation of adult companies, changing the face and the product of what used to be a business run by men for men.
As the video states, people have their set ideas of women's roles in pornography. But what people don't seem to be informed about are the women behind the scenes that make what pornography is today, and the women who strongly agree with the idea of women working in pornography. My speech today will not inform you of the negative aspects of women in pornography. I'm sure we're all aware that women in pornography are seen as, like, whores and blah, and they're not going to really amount to anything in life, and they're fake, and we all know that. But what people don't seem to know are the positive things that, and I mean, it doesn't sound very realistic, but I'm covering the positive aspects of women in pornography. Not just the performers, but the women who work behind the scenes and the women who strongly agree with pornography. My informative presentation will cover successes of women who perform in pornography, the successes of women behind the scenes, and what pornography does for the women in the present day. In all sense, I will inform the positive aspects of this. The amount of women who begin in pornography and make a name for themselves are large and wide. But two prime examples I represent are Jenna Marie Massoli and Cindy Taylor, who are known today by their porn star names as Jenna Jameson and Jessie Jane. Both women became highly successful through pornography. Jenna Jameson began acting in adult films in 1993 and eventually started her own Club Jenna website, which sold a large amount of Jenna merchandise, making this porn star very business-oriented when it came to selling herself, if you will. Jenna started her career in porn, but eventually made her own label and sold thousands of dollars worth of merchandise, according to a broadcast television interview of her on a True Hollywood Story. Jessie Jane, another very large, successful porn star, branched out quite like Jenna and opened her own adult business entitled Jessie Jane Inc. and even started a new website. On one of her websites, many of her fans are able to interact with the porn star in adult live chat rooms. And according to CNBC's television broadcast of Porn, the Business of Pleasure, Jessie is said to state that her chat room has a charge of a $10 minute fee, $10 per minute, for her fans to interact with her on a live porn site. Though these two women are only two of the many successes that came out of pornography, and mind you, I looked up a list, and there's just so many, like just name after name, and Riley Steele, and I mean, I can go on, but the women who perform in pornography have a much larger power and standing than men do in the industry. According to Jenna Jameson in her interview with Eve, women who perform in pornography have much more superiority than men in this industry. They get paid more than men, they choose who they work with, and women get to call their own shots on everything when it comes to them shooting on set. Not to mention that top stars may make up to $2,000 a scene, and some even total up to $30,000 a month. Like about a full-time job. CNBC's broadcast Porn, the Business of Pleasure states that women have far more power in the industry, and pornography apparently is not just, women have far more power in the industry, and it's not just a business run by men anymore. Pornography is a $13 billion industry, and today more and more women are in charge now in this multi-billion-dollar industry. Though so many stars get credited, there are also those who aren't stars of the film, but deal with making the films and the products that follow the films. Around the 1990s, when pornography started being sold on DVDs and through the internet, more and more women began to work for the industry. One prime example of a powerful businesswoman in pornography is Joy King, Vice President of Special Projects of the adult filmmaking company Wicked Pictures. Joy King used to work for children's. Oh wait, sorry, I need to cite this. According to television broadcast CNBC, the Porn, the Business of Pleasure, Joy King used to work for a children's video distribution company that distributed various children's videos, from G.I. Joe to Strawberry Shortcake, until she heard about the company's adult division, which she switched to. Eventually, she started working for Wicked Pictures, and has been working pornography for about 24 years now. She makes a strong name for herself and has promoted large stars like Jenna Jameson, Sydney Steele, and Stephanie Swift, just to name a few of the porn stars. Finally, the last positive outcome of women in pornography presented in my speech is the female sense of sexual freedom that has been mentioned by many radical feminist groups. Sex-positive feminism is connected with the sex-positive movement. Sexual deprivation of women has occurred throughout the years, and women aren't allowed to sexually express themselves as men. And it's like, for instance, men are allowed to, I mean, when you hear men talk about, like, having sex with girls, and like, oh man, you're the man, but if a girl says, you know, I had sex with a guy, you're a whore, like, that's kind of a double standard. That's not kind of a double standard, that's just a double standard. Reuben Gale, author of Pleasure and Danger, Exploring Female Sexuality, states, there have been two strains of feminist thought on the subject. One tendency has criticized the restrictions on women's sexual behavior and denounced the high cost imposed on women for being sexually active. This tradition of feminist sexual thought has called for a sexual liberation that would work for women as well as for men. The second tendency has considered sexual liberalization to be inherently a mere extension of male privilege. This tradition resonates with conservative anti-sexual discourse. One of the main problems that certain feminists face is the fact that women being pleasured sexually isn't ever discussed or depicted except when it's shown in pornography or in films. This also includes speaking about female masturbation being a subject that is avoided by society. What pro-porn feminists defend about pornography is the fact that it's an industry that has changed its ways to show females being pleasured and showing women being more in control of sex and sexual activities, where men have been depicted as being in control for a vast amount of years. Women in pornography not only depicts women in control of their sexuality, but it goes against what society has suppressed from women, and that is the ability to freely express their sexuality as freely as men have been able to. Finally, women are coming out on top.
So, Reuben, what did you think?
I like the topic. Some of the stuff he did well was he spoke loud enough so everybody could hear. Sounded like he did his research. Two visuals were nice. The girls. Some of the stuff I think would have been a little better. The beginning, I don't know, I think he could have done a little better, like explaining, and then this picture that's up right here, I don't know who's the girl she was talking about, so I would like to know on that. Yeah. And then there was a large portion of the speech where you were kind of just looking at the thing, and every now and then you look up. I think if you practice a little more and did a little more looking at the audience, but overall I thought it was a good speech.
All right. There's a little bit of a setup of the clip that you've got, which I think is a good thing. Too many people just start with the clip without telling us what it is we're seeing or that we should be paying attention to something, and we don't even know that the speech has started because they just start the clip. So I thought the setup was okay. The transition to your subject was fine. You've got a very clear statement of what your goal is, although I think it's only partially defined, and it gets clearer in the body of the speech. There's a very good preview of what you're going to be talking about there. Good citation of your supporting materials. You're pretty consistent about that. Some of the stories seem only partial, and I think we could use a little bit more detail, not the gruesome details, but the business details. There's a natural curiosity and interest about the subject that I think you take advantage of in getting us into the material. It's pretty well organized. The visuals, I don't know that they add that much to what you're talking about. You've got the opening clip that kind of introduces what the subject matter is. After that, it's just the images of the three women that you make a particular reference to. And although they're lovely pictures, you know, all they do is kind of structure some information. And I think you could probably get a little bit more out of it. I'm thinking you've got statistical information about the importance of the business. You mentioned it's a $13 billion industry, and your subject is women and their influence on this. So my first question that popped into my head was, well, what portion of the industry is controlled by women? You know, how much of them, you know, how much of the business is, or the money is flowing in their direction, you know, that kind of thing. And I don't really get that kind of information, and that's something that visually would be easy to make a reference to. Excuse me.